Hey, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be learning how we change strings on a Strandberg Boden guitar. Now this is a hardtail. If you're going to be doing it on a trem system guitar, I recommend blocking off the trem so that it doesn't move. So first thing we need to do is loosen the strings. You can do that by using your fingers to actually grab onto the tuners and loosen them by twisting them up towards yourself. If the guitar's in this orientation, if you have it flipped around the other way, it'd be the opposite direction. But we need to loosen the strings. There is a tool that comes with the Strandbergs, a little multi-tool, or the older models like this one will come with a T Allen wrench that you can use. Or if you have a 6mm bit and an electric screwdriver, you can always use something like that as well. So if I go here and I just... Okay. And we just want it loose enough that you're not getting like tension on the string itself very much. So if it stops making noise, like guitar note noises, that's usually a good point. Okay, once we've gotten to that point, we're going to need to take another screwdriver bit. Again, it comes with a tool with all Strandbergs to do this, but we need, I believe it's a 3, maybe smaller. Let's see. Yep, a 3mm hex Allen key, and we're going to undo the screws up here. Now, I'm going to leave the screws in just enough. Oop, that one's coming out. And the reason for that is it helps prevent losing the, there's a little plate that goes underneath the strings. And if that comes out, the strings will be pushed into the screw and they can snap. And that's not fun. I almost actually lost a plate, and it looks like Strandberg is back ordered on those little plates, but you can usually get like I think it's a pack of 10 for like $5, something like that. Maybe it's a pack of 6 for $5. I don't remember. It's not super expensive to replace, but Strandberg is out of stock and have been for a little over a month, as far as I know. It could be longer. That's just when I looked. But once you do that, all the strings should pretty easily just pop out on their own. I didn't even have to pull them back or anything. Now we're gonna push the strings out. Make sure you get all of them, and we can pull them the rest of the way. And that's it. Taking the strings off of a Strandberg is probably easier than almost any other guitar I've ever had to work on. Fairly similar to maybe like a hardtail, like string through body, like maybe an old Telly or some of the newer like Jacksons or Charvels or Ibanez's that are string through. But even then, I think this is a little bit easier. Those ones are probably just about as easy when they have locking tuners, but if not, they're roughly the same. Now, I want to check these barrels because what I like to do is I like to have as much room to move the string as possible. So I will unscrew, or same as that we did for loosening, the screw almost all the way. So I keep checking, and if I come off of it, that's fine. I'll just go back. So right now it's off, so I'll go a couple of turns back on, make sure it's nice and snug. And I'll do the other one. Now I'm always going to double check and make sure I'm not bumping into the previous one that I've already set. You can do this one at a time, you can do them all at the same time. But the idea here is if it's as far back as possible, you'll have as much room to tighten the string up as needed. So all of those are pretty much at the furthest back. That means I'm going to have as much leeway as possible when tightening the strings. A couple of the first times I did a restring on, not on this one, but on my first one, which was a trem version, the ball end of the string will eventually stick out and you'll eventually run out of threads that this can tighten onto. So we want to be careful of that. You can pick your string gauge of choice. I typically pay 10 to 46s. These are the D'Addario XS's. I primarily use the NYXLs. This is the first time I've actually bought these. I wanted to try them out because I've heard good things about them. I've never really played coated strings, and these are stainless steel frets, so there's not anything I really have to worry about, like the strings wearing down the frets or anything like that. So I wanted to see if these, do anything good. And I'm not like a big, recording person or anything like that. I'm a teacher, so if the strings sound a little bit more dull but last a long time, I'm good with that. Now, like I said, I'm not taking any of these out except for the one that I'm going to be working on first. So as I move across the guitar, I'll take them out. But the reason for that is the last time I did a string change, only the last time, the little plate that I was telling you is super easy to lose, popped out, and it popped out into the A strings retainer. And I was like, oh no, I lost it. It looked all over the floor, couldn't find it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to order more. And then I realized they're out of stock, and I'm like, well, I'm screwed. Considering I can't play any other guitar for more than like a half hour before I'm in pain. So I found it eventually that it was stuck in that string retainer, but it was a little annoying to have to deal with that. The strings will go through this little like barrel and up out through this part of the barrel and over this saddle piece. Now, something that might help is you take the string, you want to look at it, and I can see that the string is from where the wraps come around the string. So I don't know if you can see that clearly, but the wraps come around the string right about here. And then we want to bend it just a little bit so that it can pop out a little bit easier. So there's already a little bend in the string, so I'm going to bend it a little bit more. I'm going to feed it through and then come up. Now, the bend wasn't enough to actually get it up and out, apparently, which is pretty normal anyway. Usually I take a guitar pick or, my screwdriver. I just put it through that little hole in the barrel and kind of leverage the string up until it does come out of the barrel. And then I can pull it all the way through. We want the ball end to seat nicely inside the barrel. We're going to come through here. Now, this is usually the hardest part. We have to put it through a little hole in this string retainer. Now, the NX version of the guitar does have like a one piece, but it's all the same idea. So we put it in the hole of its string retainer. Now we have to make sure the string goes over the little metal plate, which I know you guys can't see, but there's a little metal disc, like, I don't know, the size of this screw, okay? That's in there. And the string has to go over it. Now, usually getting the string over it isn't too bad, but getting the wrapped part of the string over it is bad. And that's because there's a very tight tolerance. So as we get that wrapped end of the string in the hole, it doesn't typically like to slide over the plate very easily. Once the string is over, we pull it as tight as possible. We take the little screw that we took out earlier, put it back in the hole. Make sure we have the correct bit, not the flat screwdriver bit. And we, again, pull the string tight, and we're going to tighten this down. We just want enough tension. So once we start to feel the screw stop, we're going to give it just like a quarter turn, and that's it. The string should be seated nicely. There's going to be a little bit of tension here. Make sure the string is seated on the saddle and all the way across. We should be fine now, okay? Now I'm going to show you the exact same process on the A string. It does get easier. So again, I'm going to take out the screw for the A string, make sure the plate is there, which it is. I'm going to take my A string, okay? I'm going to bend it a little bit here. I'm actually going to give it 2 bends this time. That way, hopefully I can get around using a screwdriver to grab it. Yep, okay, there we go. So now I don't need a screwdriver to grab it that time. I can pull it all the way through. I can come up here, feed it through this hole. Okay, again, the thin end usually slides through fine. Once we get to the wrapped end of the string, look at that. That's how it should have been for the other one, but it just didn't want to work. Okay, again, make sure the string is on the saddle. Pull it tight. Take the original screw, locking mechanism, screw, whatever you want to call it. Okay, seat that in. Again, we're going to just tighten it down until it stops spinning. Okay, and then we give it just a quarter turn past. That's enough. That's another thing I always found a little more inefficient about the Strandbergs is you have to kind of like go back and forth between tuning and playing with the normal tuner. Okay, so that slipped out. I'm going to tighten this one a little bit more. Okay, on a normal guitar you'd be able to tune a little bit faster. That slipping is part of the reason why I pull the barrels out so far, because it prevents it from causing issues. So de-stringing a Strandberg fastest guitar like I've ever done, no doubt. As far as restringing, tuning, and everything like that, it's got its quirks. Once it's in tune, once it's strung though, it does a great job of lasting. I might have to adjust tuning once a week, and usually that's just because of personal preference. Like one day I'm like, yeah, G doesn't sound like it's too sharp, and another day it's like, yeah, G's a little sharp. But like to a tuner, it's always in tune. All right, so now I'm pretty close to in tune. I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna just double check, make sure none of these are loose. Okay, that one's good. Nowhere to turn there. Again, if there's resistance, you don't want to keep turning. Okay, good. That one had a little bit extra. That one, pretty good. That one's good. Okay. So it should be as good as possible, or as good as necessary up here, and the string should be close enough in tune. We're gonna give them a little stretch. Now, if you don't have a Strandberg and you're doing a different guitar, I usually don't recommend stretching this way. I would stretch above the nut, because that's usually where strings will slip out. In this case, there is no good place to do that. So we're gonna just stretch them from around the pickup area. You want to pull too hard, just enough that if they're not seated properly, they're gonna slip a little bit. Have these sound out of tune again. Okay, that's in tune. Now, I normally would just kind of keep going through, stretching the strings until they don't go out of tune anymore. That usually means the strings are seated perfectly, but it's pretty close. Yeah, that one was so close, it's not a big deal. All right, now that the strings are in tune, I can go ahead and turn the pedal down, unplug that, throw that over there. Now, the cutting of the strings. You can use pretty much any wire cutters. These are the Music Nomad string cutters. Any wire cutters will work, but the idea is you want to come as close to the locking nut system as possible. And I usually come at a slight angle. So like this is the nut. Instead of going, I'll show you this way. Instead of going flush, I'm coming at an angle like this. The only reason is, I don't know if it actually is doing anything, but the way that these cutters are is they're slightly angled here, if you can see that. Right on this back piece, they're slightly angled. And I think that allows me to get a little bit closer. I'm going to cut as close to the nut as possible because I don't want anything sticking out. Okay, so go ahead and cut every single one. And when we're done, we should only have little nubs for each string, which is perfect. We don't want to let long strings sticking out because they can poke us. Okay. So strings are cut. We can throw those away, recycle them, whatever we need. But if you see now, pull that up, barely anything sticking out, right? The NX have a newer system where it's like you're supposed to use angle cutters, I think. But like these are sticking out like such a little amount that even if I'm poking up here, unless I was dragging my finger across, they don't hurt. There's not enough to like bite into my finger. Just, finger squishy enough that it's not going to bother me. So if I was to drag my finger across, of course, they might like catch and chew up my finger. But if you were just like bump over like that, you wouldn't really notice an issue. So yeah, that's how I would restring a Strandberg Boden. If you have any questions about the guitar, you want to see a review or anything like that, please leave a comment down below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video.